back, everyone, to the UMG Dallas 40K. I feel like I said that 20 million times this weekend. But no, what is up, guys? My name is Landon, and today I am bringing you guys my UMG Dallas 40K recap. If you guys didn't know, I was actually at the event, had a great time, and actually casted on the Bravo, a couple times on Alpha, and did some work on the analyst desk. So I had a very good time. My voice is a little bit deeper for the fact that I actually lost my voice at Dallas just from all the screaming that went on. The casting, I casted like 12 or 13 matches, which is great. Don't get me wrong, I love casting, but I had a great time. But I apologize, like I said, if I sound like a little bit like Darth Vader. But I got my pink wall shirt on today. I support the pink wall. No, but how we're going to do this, we're actually going to go over the overall placings, go over the pools, my thoughts. I actually have a little bit of footage from UMG Dallas, kind of go over maybe a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. I also have the grand finals kind of taped in some ways, so I'll definitely show you guys that. But it was a great weekend overall. Had a great time. I know the stream went down a couple times, or had some audio issues, but overall, I loved everyone at UMG. Had a phenomenal time. One of the best weekends, I must say, that I've ever had. And being surrounded by a bunch of people who love the same thing that I do, competitive Call of Duty, was truly an honor. I guess you could say. I'm not trying to sound weird or anything, but I also met some of you guys as well. You guys were so nice. Like, the people that I met said they were fans and stuff, which was like, that just blows my mind. I got to sign a couple controllers, sign an Xbox. I don't know who would want my signature on an Xbox. And at the very last day, I had someone who came up to me, was so nice. And I'm not gonna say exactly what it was, but said, great caster, I love your videos, I'm a huge fan of yours. And ultimately, that just made my entire weekend. I cannot tell you guys how much that means to me. I'm not here to talk about fans or talk about that stuff, but knowing that people actually care and watch my videos means so much. So with that in mind, guys, let's go and get into the recap. And yeah, let's go over the placings. I think let's go over the placings first. All right, so we're gonna talk about the 5 teams who actually placed in the money. So the top 5 teams, starting at 5th was TCM, coming in 4th was Epsilon, in 3rd was Denial, coming in 2nd was Opti Gaming, and in 1st was FaZe. So now what we're going to do, now that you guys know all the placings, if you already didn't, hopefully I put up a graphic, we're going to go over each pool by pool. I actually cast a lot of pool plays, so I'm going to kind of go over that, talk about the teams who made it through the open bracket, because I also got to see a lot of that as well. So let's go ahead and talk about Group A, which was consisting of Opti Gaming, Team Envy, XGN Competitive, Dunkin' Donuts, and Tactical Turtle Esports. Best name in the world. But in case you guys didn't know, the top 2 teams out of each pool would make it to the winners bracket, bottom 3 would make it to the losers bracket. So based on record, we're going to kind of go over the Group A standings. Opti Gaming ended up finishing 4-0. Looked so strong throughout pool play. Didn't actually have the pleasure of casting them in pool play much, but played very well. Only dropped 1 map. Only, I think FaZe did that as well. But moving on, Envy 3-1, only loss, I believe, was the OG as well, and I believe that was a 3-0 fashion. XGN didn't really get to cast a whole lot of them, saw them play against VVV, a pretty good team. That team was like Killa, Study, Spacely, and Gunjar. I forgot Gunjar, but XGN had some good moments, but ultimately just wasn't good enough. OG versus Envy just looked really strong throughout their pool. Not really a big surprise, to be honest. Moving on to Group B, we actually have FaZe, Rod Squad, Rise Nation, Mutiny, and Enigma 6. Very surprising. I did not predict Enigma 6 would go to 0-4. I actually had them moving out of the pool. Rise Nation, not really surprised either. Went 2-2, 7-8 in overall map record. Rod Squad, though, a very good team, I must say. Had the pleasure of casting over them in the 5K. That roster's like, what? I think it's Ken, Wolf, Assault, and Nelson, so that was a pretty good team. Ended up placing 3-1 in their pool, ended up placing 2nd in FaZe, 4-0, 12-1 overall map count. Their only loss was to Rise Nation, which I actually cast over that game. Clayster, man, it's just insane. He's so insane. They obviously ended up winning the entire tournament. Well, we'll talk about more. Talk a little bit more about FaZe once we get to the actual bracket. But FaZe looks so strong. Only lost 1 map, that was to Rise. And ultimately, they just look so good throughout the entire tournament. Moving on to Group C, we had Denial Esports, Isolation Empire, TK, Geared for Gaming, and VVV. Geared for Gaming actually looked pretty good throughout some of the tournament. I believe they ended up beating Denial in the 3-0. I actually watched on the main stage, and I was like so surprised the entire time. I was like, oh my god, what is this team doing? I believe this was the team full of Dylans, except they dropped 1 Dylan player. I believe that's like Pickles. I have no idea. Either way, Denial finishing out 3-1, 9-4 in overall map record. Isolation Empire 3-1, 10-6 in overall map record. ISO's a very good team. They actually had Godorex as a fill-in. ISO looking very good. TK 2-2. Not really surprised, honestly. I think I had TK moving out. It was just to me who would win between TK and ISO. And, you know, ISO, I believe, ended up beating TK. Kind of unfortunate for TK, not the best new roster, I guess you could say, and they ended up losing pretty early on in pool play, or excuse me, in the losers bracket to, I believe, OG. I actually had to cast over that game as well. Very good game, I must say. But now looking at our last group, Group D, consisting of Elevate, Epsilon, TCM, Optic Nation, and Rampage Black. Rampage Black was obviously the team who placed from the open bracket. That roster, I believe, I want to say like Anticity and Legal were on that team. Don't take that for granted. Like, I have no idea who's on that squad for sure. But looking at this group, Elevate finishing 4-0 in their pool, very dominant. Actually had Elevate moving on, but I did not expect them to place 12-0 in overall map count. Didn't even drop a single map in all of their games. Epsilon finished out 2-2, 8-6 in overall map record. TCM also finishing out 2-2, but Epsilon, due to the maps that they won, ended up placing higher than TCM. OM 2-2 also, 50% map record, finished off 7-8, and Rampage Black 0-4, 0-12 in overall map record. So Rampage Black not strong enough apparently. But this was a very tough pool. 4 out of the 5 teams were all in the Pro League, but Elevate to finish 4-0, 12-0 in overall map record was absolutely insane. All right, so we're going to take a look at the winners bracket. I guess I don't know how you say that. Winners bracket. I'm not even trying to mention that, but. Looking at the first game, OG versus Epsilon. Okay, this was actually on the main stage, obviously on Alpha, and I was actually going to be taking notes for this one on the, the analysis desk, and I was like, okay, getting ready to write down notes. OG's gonna 3-0 Epsilon. Epsilon comes out freaking amazing and ends up beating Optic Gaming 3-1. OG now move on to the losers bracket in the first round. That was the biggest surprise to me, at least, of the entire tournament. Epsilon beating Optic Gaming in a 3-1 fashion. Now, if anyone had Epsilon winning, congratulations, but in a 3-1, not in a 3-2, I don't even know. It was actually looking like they were going to 3-0 them. OG barely was able to come back in the uplink, but still, such a close game. Either way, Epsilon looking so good. And actually, OG and Epsilon would actually come back and meet again, and I'll talk about that. I actually had to cast over that one on the Bravo stream, but looking at the next matchup, Denial versus Rod Squad 3-0, FaZe versus ISO 3-1 fashion as well. Elevate versus Envy. Envy actually 3-1 to Elevate. I was kind of surprised by that, especially how well Elevate had did in their overall bracket, or excuse me, in their overall pool. Looking at a couple games in the loser bracket, I'm showing you guys the entire graphic right now. At least I hope I am. Looking at a couple matchups that were pretty interesting. VV actually 3-1 ON, which actually knocked them out of the entire tournament. I think I actually casted that game. Yeah, I did actually cast over VVV versus Optic Nation. To be honest, for VVV, Fears and Felony were the Dons. John didn't really show up a lot of the time, and Fizzard didn't really do a whole lot in any other category except for Search and Destroy. Fears and Felony are absolutely the factor for this VVV team. Felony went off countless times, and Fears constantly dropping 40 bombs and always went off in Search and Destroy. So, while VVV didn't have the best placing, they had some good moments, especially 3-1ing ON, who had looked very good as of late. So now, came down to Optic Gaming's losers bracket run. The first matchup was going to play against TK. I actually was casting over this. Now, I was told that, Landon, you're going to be casting over OG throughout the entire losers bracket. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm going to be casting over Optic Gaming? Awesome. I'm down for that, but I actually got to watch them play against TK. Oh my god, by the way, Scump had, I've not seen anyone highlight this play. If I find it, I'll put it in the video, but
been so good in these 1-on-1 and 1v2s so far in this one. We'll stay on board with him as we find these players in this 1-on-1.
Yeah, they might meet up here at this B-bomb site. They're going to come around the corner. Scump's going to spot him, but knowingly able to back up. He realizes that Nestle doesn't have a whole lot of time. He has to get the bomb down, and with this, you can tell Nestle's a little bit scared, but going to come around the flank. Scump might not be able to notice this, but comes around the stairs, and these players just pass each other. They can literally hear each other's steps. Nestle just waiting, possibly to grab this kill as soon as he possibly can. Battle shots coming in. Scump, such a smart play.
You can't miss him.
Scump is using some great lines of sight here, trying to just dodge this. And Nestle just firing some shots. Can Scump stay alive? That's the question. Scump. Oh my god. How did Scumpy do that?
Just
that
wow.
movement.
He just avoided Balfire for about a solid 15 seconds. Absolutely huge, and he didn't even shoot at Neslo. Wow.
I'm speechless right now. They call him the Ginger Ninja. He looked like it right there. Me and Valen were actually casting this on Bravo, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, Scump didn't even have to kill anyone to win the round. That was one of the most insane plays of the entire weekend. That was just phenomenal, and OG ended up 3-0ing TK. So it would come down to the final four. It would be Denial, FaZe, OG, and Epsilon. Personally, had no idea Epsilon would be here. I think everyone could have kind of predicted that it would be Denial, FaZe, and OG. Denial would play FaZe. FaZe with 3-0 Denial. wow, I would have at least said 3-1 at the least, but FaZe looking so good against Denial that would move Denial down to play the winner of OG versus Epsilon. So on Bravo, this is the most intense match of the entire weekend on Bravo, I guess you could say. That's when I primarily cast it over. The only game that I have is actually FaZe versus Rise, and that was the play where Glacier got the insane 1v2 on Solar S&D, and that was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. But regardless, OG versus Epsilon, came down to it. Landon, you gotta cast this one. Down. I'm like, down. I want to cast this so bad. Optic Gaming versus Epsilon. OG ended up 3-1ing them in that fashion. Had like 60 or 70,000 people in the Bravo station watching myself cast. Optic Gaming ended up 3-1ing Epsilon, kind of turning the tables on Epsilon because Epsilon obviously 3-1'd them the day before. But OG looking so strong. To be honest, Swanee went off. 40 bombs galore. Royalty had some really good moments. Remy and Nogfin were definitely the factors for Epsilon. I believe every single hardpoint, they actually played them in 4 hardpoints overall in the 2 games that they played each other in. Epsilon and the 2 hardpoints that I casted over were within 5 or 6 points, and for that to be against Optic Gaming, that is amazing. And the first 2 hardpoints in the first series that they played each other in, Epsilon actually won. So Epsilon beating OG in their best game type hardpoint was insane. So Epsilon has these slang capabilities to keep up with a team like Optic Gaming very consistently, at least in this tournament. But Optic Gaming would end up 3-1ing Epsilon, which would make it go against Denial versus OG. Winner of that would play FaZe in the grand final. OG ended up beating Denial in a 3-1 fashion. OG versus FaZe, Optic Gaming would have to win 2 best of 5s to take the tournament. FaZe only needed 1. Didn't even have to win a round, or Optic Gaming didn't even win a map, and FaZe ended up 3-0ing them in the grand finals. So just like that, FaZe are the grand champions of UMG Dallas, the 40K champions. And unfortunately, I heard a lot of people saying this, like, Optic Gaming had a really long run. They had a really long morning. They started at like 10 o'clock and ended up going to 8. I've seen teams play that before and not even really mention it. I'm not saying that Optic Gaming used that as their excuse, but I was really watching them the entire tournament. They didn't really seem slow. They just seemed to get outplayed, to be honest with you. It wasn't like, oh no, Optic Gaming just had a long run. And I'm not taking away from OG, don't get me wrong. But FaZe was on just a completely new level. And Search and Destroy, FaZe has the perfect strategy. So this is how they play it. In the games that I noticed, and from what Clay has talked about, so Zuma is a freak. Zuma is a freak in Search and Destroy. He's the guy that rushes. He has the highest first blood percentage of anyone in competitive Call of Duty. Zuma is that guy to watch out for. Attaches the sniper. Clay has the bow. Enable's normally going to be the bomb carrier. Can also do a little bit of stuff with Zuma or even hang back. That's the problem with FaZe and Search and Destroy. They are so scary to play against because you have to keep in mind Zuma's always rushing against you, and if you try to hang back, Attach is always there for the snipes. It's so hard to beat them in Search and Destroy. And also, imagine, and so if you're playing against FaZe and you lose the first hardpoint, that is heartbreaking for you because you have Search and Destroy up against them next, and that is one of their best game types. Then you have an uplink and you have another hardpoint. It's like almost very difficult to beat FaZe if you don't beat them in the first hardpoint. Optic Gaming ended up losing that first hardpoint to FaZe. FaZe, to be honest, is one of my favorite teams to watch. They just have a lot of difference about them. Enable constantly clutched up against OG, and a lot of the times, got a 1 versus 3. We saw some insane clutch plays. I blipped through the entire tournament. Havoc got a 1 versus 4 on Optic Gaming as well. Glacier's 1v2. Hooks, amazing throw to send, I believe, I can't remember who it was exactly, but since someone did lose Racket, Hook went off and come back up link as well. Had a lot of amazing moments throughout the entire tournament. Obviously, Scump's ninja movement. But finishing off, I'm looking at FaZe's overall, KDs. 1.15 for Glacier, 1.18 for Enable, 1.13 for Zuma, and a 1.11 for Attach. Every player placing at a 1.1 at least. That is phenomenal for a team, especially for FaZe. And to be honest, the MVP throughout the entire tournament, without a doubt, was Zuma. Zuma went off in hardpoint. He went off in Search and Destroy and ultimately got the kills that mattered when he needed to. And that's exactly what FaZe did. That's why they won the tournament. People could say fatigue really affected Optic Gaming. I could say that, but still have to clutch up when it matters. If you want to be the best team in the game, you have to compete at all levels, no matter what's happening to you. So unfortunate for OG not to win this one. That could have been their 3rd UMG event in a row. I think this could have been their 5-peat, but FaZe closing that one out. Seems like FaZe is really Optic's kryptonite. We'll see coming in the tournaments. UMG DC getting ready to come up as well. I've not been invited just yet, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully I am. If you guys enjoyed the casting, I really do appreciate it. You guys' support on Twitter was phenomenal. I cannot express to you guys how much that meant to me. That pink wall for life, though, ended up being the MVP of the tournament for me. Legion or Laquan went off. So that's really just about it for this video. I might make a separate video talking about my first casted land and maybe go over gameplay or actual footage that I have from the event. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but hopefully if there was anything in here that you guys did enjoy that as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, friends!